Alright, hello everybody. Today, okay, sorry, I thought there was just something else behind me other than the blanket for some reason, but anyway. Today we are going to review the television show that I believe, oh, got something in my eye. Okay, we're good. That I believe ended far too early. It only lasted 3 seasons. I'm talking about the Santa Clarita Diet, which was an excellent show. I definitely thought. Starring Drew Barrymore, Timothy Olyphant, Liv Hewson, Skylar Gizondo? Gizondo? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mary Elizabeth Ellis, Natalie Morales, Richard T. Jones, Jonathan Salvin, Richard Chavari, I want to say. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And Nathan Fillion, Thomas Lennon, Ethan Suplee, and Ramona Young. And then the rest of them were kind of basically just secondary characters, so I kind of feel like some of these were just guest appearances, I suppose. They had a lot of those. Oh, and Andy Richter was actually one of the I guess Alan Tudyk voiced Gary too. Interesting. Interesting. And then obviously the two guys in the third season, Stephen Full and Dominic Bergs. Okay, so this show is about Sheila Hammond. I guess the Hammonds really all together. Sheila, Joel, and Abby. All dealing with the, I guess, kind of circumstances of their mother obviously dying and then coming back to life. Kind of a very interesting concept to start a story off with. The very first episode, she just dies. But as the show goes on, it kind of explains why she is undead and what caused it and how there is a possible cure and all this commotion that is going on in their lives. And obviously in the first season they have to deal with her hunger and her not becoming, I guess, what they call feral. So kind of, I guess, basically like a undead person losing their mind. And obviously, I guess, after a certain amount of time, if you're undead, you can begin to deteriorate. So you actually still can, I guess, die after a certain period of time, which is kind of weird that the undead can die. But there isn't a cure, but there is a serum that can stop the deterioration, but you are going to end up living forever after you take that serum, I guess. So to start, I think they were selling a house when she first, before she actually, yeah, they were selling a house before she dies, I think, in the first season, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, that is right. They were trying to sell a house, and she ends up just throwing up a massive amount in the upstairs bathroom. And when Joel comes to find her, he thinks that she's dead, and then all of a sudden she just comes back to life, and she's puked out this little, I don't really know how to describe it other than like a ball. They think it's like an organ maybe that she's actually puked out, so that's kind of crazy. So obviously Joel tries to get to the bottom of, obviously, a cure for her, and they find out that, I guess this disease or whatever that she has is Serbian in some nature. So as the show goes on, they try to find anybody who can read the Serbian text in this book that they found, on a possible cure and all the other things that go along with this disease that Sheila's picked up that makes her hungry for only human flesh and nothing else. So as we go along in the show, we find out about the Knights of Serbia, and the Knights of Serbia obviously hunt the undead. So at some point in time, Joel decides that he wants to become a Knight of Serbia because he thinks it is the only way to protect Sheila, obviously. And as long as he is a Knight of Serbia, he can just go around and say in his area, Santa Clarita, that there is no undead, and then that way his wife is protected. But obviously, along the way, he meets people and he tells them more information than he probably should. One of them being Ron, who he meets in a mental institute when I guess they think that he's lost his mind, right? Going on about all the all the problems that he's been having lately, and they think he's just insane. So they end up admitting him at one point, and I don't think he's in there very long before he ends up getting out again, but in that amount of time, he ends up meeting this guy named Ron and telling him way more than he should have, which is unfortunate because when Ron gets out, after just losing his wife, obviously he isn't in the right state of mind, and he just wants to become undead. And when he becomes undead, it becomes more of a problem because he ends up going around and trying to turn all of his friends, and eventually that backfires when he eventually turns Janko and Radul, who were, I believe were from Serbia, yeah, and they were working for this Pavlovich guy, who was played by Goran Visnik. I want to say is how you pronounce his name. And eventually, at some point in time, when Sheila is working for Meals on Wheels, she ends up changing this older lady, Jean, played by Linda Lavin. And that was probably one of my favorite little, I think it was a couple episodes with her in it. Or maybe it was just one. I can't really remember. I think there were a few episodes with her in it anyway, and she was one of the probably funnier characters for sure in this show. And obviously, as we go along, and Sheila's becoming a little bit more kind of feral in a sense. She has to kind of control herself around her boss, because Joel and Sheila are realtors, so she has to still go out and do her job every day, even though she's undead, with her husband, who is trying to protect her, and obviously the other people that she may get angry at and decide to just eat. And at one point, she ends up blacking out for hours, and she thinks that she's eaten her boss. So she tries to go and find out who she has eaten, and she actually ends up finding this group of, I guess, neo-Nazis. So she just kind of picks from them and kills them one by one, and eventually they find out, and they try to obviously kill her, to no avail. I think she ends up actually probably wiping out the whole baseball team by the end of the show, to be completely honest. So she just kind of kills, I guess it's kind of like the lesser of two evil things. She's killing the people that I guess she feels deserve it, or you wouldn't really feel bad for if they died, I suppose. Is kind of supposed to be the how she morally justifies what she does, right? She's not just killing to kill, she's killing because she needs to eat, obviously, but she's killing the bad people, so it makes it better, I guess, in a sense. And obviously they have to find a way around of getting caught, and one of the, after Joel ends up killing Dan, their next door neighbor, because he knows that Sheila has killed Gary after he finds the finger, and I guess identifies the body just through that. He starts getting Joel to do all these tasks for him, including killing a couple people, which eventually just sends Joel over the edge, and he ends up killing Gary with a shovel, Dan with a shovel, and then Abby gets involved with Dan's stepson. Not in the beginning, but you can kind of always feel the connection between them, I guess, and in a sense, like, in a way, you can always feel the connection between them, especially friends, and you can kind of feel like the, I guess, tension between them, that they don't really want to take that step to the next, like, they don't want to be in a relationship, but they still like each other in that way, so it's kind of funny, and that they avoid it until pretty much the end of the very last episode of the show, which it would be cool to honestly have a fourth season, because I feel like the show kind of needs a little bit more closure, but I don't know if it'll ever actually happen now, just because it's been since 2019 since the season has come out, so, and I don't know what the contract obligate. I don't know if it was just on Netflix or whether it was a show that was created that they had a contract with Netflix and they're just waiting for it to end. I'm not really sure, but it would be cool to have a fourth season of the show, because I think it just ended too early, and it probably could have been a couple seasons longer, but, I mean, I guess leaving a show on a cliffhanger ending isn't the worst. I just wish we had have known what was going to happen, obviously, with Joel, because at the very end, the little creature that they call their Mr. Ball Legs or whatever, ends up just crawling into Joel's ear and killing him, and then Sheila has to bring him back to life. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen after that, whether the creature was going to crawl back out or what, but yeah, it was a very interesting ending to the show, where Joel has now become undead. Yeah, especially after becoming a Knight of Serbia, because how was that going to go, right? And obviously, because of them kind of hiding stuff from Abby throughout the show, she becomes more and more rebellious, to the point where she ends up blowing up this fracking site, because she feels that she needs to do something right, and it ends up, actually, Abby ends up being the more, I guess, sound-minded of the three of them, to be completely honest, because she ends up coming up with most of the plans, and she's always there to protect her parents, and the more they try to push her away, the more she ends up getting involved anyway, so it doesn't end up really working out for them. And she has this very kind of strange effect on everybody, where she brings out the best in them, I guess, and kind of makes them a little bit braver when they're around her, because she seems to be absolutely, completely fearless throughout the entire show, obviously, when, I mean, she does get worried at some points, but she doesn't really seem to care too much throughout most of the show. So yeah, kind of she's definitely one of the more badass characters in the show, that's for sure. As her parents kind of struggle around the fact of what they're doing and trying to keep her out of it, but really, they should have just been honest with her right from the beginning, and I think things probably would have went a little bit smoother. One of the funnier things was, though, Nathan Fillion's character there, Gary, when they end up forgetting about him in the basement, and neither of them had given him the serum. This was after they had unburied him from the desert, without even realizing that they hadn't killed him, because when you bite, when the undead bite, I guess it gives eternal life, grants eternal life, and that was one of the things I was going to say about the cop that was after them. She ends up just, what was her name? She's got to be here somewhere. I would recognize her if I saw her, but I don't see her. Oh, that's weird. Anyway, the one cop that is investigating them after Dan's disappearance, that you can kind of tell that she's, I guess, with Dan's wife there. And what was Dan's wife's name? I think she's up here a little ways. Dan's wife was... Oh, her name was Lisa. Right. Yeah, you can kind of tell that... Oh, right. Anne. Anne was the cop's name. Jeez. Okay. In the beginning, she's definitely investigating them, and then when she finds out that they are the killers, she goes out to the desert where they have Gary. They're about to kill him too, because he's asked for death at that point in time. And she ends up thinking that Sheila is some sort of, I guess, child of God or whatever, and she's doing God's work, because I guess they kind of convince her of that. And then all of a sudden the fracking site just explodes, and the FBI comes in and obviously is investigating Abby and Eric, and yeah, it was just those two storylines together. What was I just talking about before that? Damn it. The thought totally left my head. I can't remember. Oh well. So, oh yeah, right. When they forget about him and he ends up deteriorating partly. That's what I was talking about, was Gary. I do believe. And then I went back to the whole thing about the cop because I wanted to talk about that too. But yeah, so then when Anne finds out about what is happening besides the eating people thing, she definitely tries to get in the way a little bit more than I think she was supposed to, and then eventually Sheila has to try to push her away, but that doesn't work out so well, and then Anne ends up being their protector, and it's just a very strange concepts in this show sometimes, but yeah, still a very good show and a very funny show. And I think I've covered everything that I wanted to, because it's been a couple days since I've watched the show now, and I didn't really feel like going back and binge watching 3 seasons again after just watching it. So I hope I've covered everything that I can, and I actually would highly recommend this show, because even though it did end kind of abruptly, I think it is still highly worth the watch, and has a huge amount of hilarious moments. And Timothy Olyphant and Drew Barrymore's chemistry is actually insane, and Liv Houston just works well, it seems, with anybody. Like, no matter, yeah, she was probably, I think, the best actor in this entire show. She could do it all, so, yeah. She just seemed to have chemistry with everybody on screen, so yeah, that was kind of cool. And I kind of want to look into more of her work and see what else she's done, because it doesn't look like she's done too much since the Santa Clarita Diet ended. Like 3 or 4 things, I guess. Maybe 5. And I don't know how big of a role she has in those, but I guess the biggest one seems to be This Before I Fall. So maybe I'll have to check that out. 2017. So that was the same year that Santa Clarita Diet came out, I guess. But even in this, she's kind of seems like a secondary character. I guess I'll have to watch it to find out, but yeah. And then Yellow Jackets, which was, well, I guess just started. So how big of a role does she have in this? Well, I guess we'll have to see. Interesting. Anyway, I gave this show a 9 out of 10, not because there was any flaws in it, I don't think, that I can really think of, no. I just think that's the rating it deserves. It's not quite a 10 out of 10, but it is definitely worth the watch. So, anyway, that's all I think I can say about this show, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.